Track 3. Feel Good Incorporated. The brothers found a fellow roughie near the back rail first, a flyer with a red light on her wristband, always ready to rough it up with the boys. Hair pulled tight, strong posture, wired to win. Juliet, number 87. Jet tried a button as he greeted her with the division signal. You know you're going down today, right? Do you know you guys have a very distinct smell? She teased back, voice cool, eyes darting between them. A keeper mirrored her stance behind. That's the smell of victory, said Jet, half kidding to deflect. Juliet chuckled. Joel rolled his eyes. Or the smell could be our unit, Joel corrected. Is that so? Don't expect me to take it easy on you then, Juliet said, turning to Jet. Jet grinned. When have I ever asked you to? You're the one with the keeper. She smirked. Hey, I earned this keeper in the stables. You don't tell me how to spend my credits. I won't tell you how to spend yours. Fair enough. A keeper is a choice, though. Jet winked. She caught it, let a faint smile ghost across her mouth, then tucked it away. Joel caught it too. He saw the quick flare of a challenge accepted in her eyes. A flyer measuring worth in victory, not distance. She was heavier than Jet today. You two better get keepers soon anyway. Word is the new director wants to make a name for himself, said Juliet. Where'd you hear that? Joel asked. You know how people talk. This isn't just a game to us, replied Juliet. And Juliet didn't gossip. She warned. People talk when they're bored, Joel said evenly. Phrase fine. We haven't had an unraveling in a generation. Why change what already works? Great, thank you, Joel. No keepers then, Jet said, disregarding his brother and trying to meet her eyes. Juliet shrugged. Well, I guess we'll see who the day smiles on then. I'd say it's going to be me if I could back it. She turned away to her tribe. In bloom. Forever rooted. And no, I say it's going to be me over you. Jet called too late. Well, that was pathetic, Joel said plainly. Shut up, Joel, Jet replied, embarrassed. Then another voice had come from behind, low, rough, grinning. Yeah, you gotta be better around the ladies, BG laughed. A larger child with markings on his arms shouldered through the crowd in his ranger's kit. The green and yellow uniform stretched across broad shoulders, red light on his wrist, hair a mess, smile too sure. Larger than life. Could bullshit anyone about anything. Their moms were close and their dads were even closer. Not sure if that was a good thing or not. They've been red lit together for as long as they could remember. BG number 22. Okay, B, chill, Jet said, lighting up. BG clapped him on the back hard enough to jostle him. Oh, I'm chill. I'm here to see my favorite flyer before the big show. Q1. Let's go. He turned to Joel. Still pretending you don't like me, huh? Not pretending, Joel said. BG laughed loud, drawing eyes. That's what I like about you, Joel. You're predictable. Shouldn't you be on the flanks? Joel asked. And shouldn't you smile once in a while? Yet here we are. Jet laughed. He's got you there, bro. See? BG said. That's why I'm here. Someone's got to tell you the truth, Joel. Good thing I don't care what comes out of your mouth then, Joel said, with the smallest smirk on his face. Jet met his eyes and gave a trace of acknowledgement with a single eyebrow lift. BG ignored Joel and leaned toward Jet, whispering, "So, what's the play for today?" Jet grinned. "I don't really know, dude. Let's just get my name on the board and go from there." BG's laugh boomed through the atrium before he peeled off toward the ranger line. "Yeah, well, if I could back, I'd bet you'd place today." They performed their ritual and in unison said, "Let's go to work. I'll find you at the gate before it starts." "Sounds good. B, stay safe out there today," Jet stated simply. "You as well. Be true out there," BG replied. Joel caught the way Jet's grin softened when he looked at BG, the kind of grin that comes from knowing a person's limits and loving them anyway. If Rangers could back, BG would have spent everything on that smile. The crowd began to shift as all eyes turned to one person. "He's here," someone whispered. The Ledger, keeper of wagers and whispers in Eden. He spoke the only language that is not able to lie: numbers. He emerged from the middle of the garden as if the earth itself had decided to confess they had broken protocol. A gray light bled softly from him, not blinding, not merciful, clean and certain, the kind of light that suggested the numbers had already spoken. The crowd went mad. Green lights pulsed, red lights flickered, orange lights stuttered like nervous hearts. Children shouted his name. Others went quiet, eyes wide, stepping back as he passed, as if merely standing where he stood might change their odds. A keeper followed a careful step behind him, close enough to remind everyone this was permitted, far enough to suggest it wasn't necessary. He bent as he walked, fingers brushing the garden beds, plucking a white flower from the soil. He turned it once between his fingers, inspecting it with something like fondness. "Such a simple thing," he said lightly, to no one in particular. "The code." He smiled as a child flinched when he drew too near. The Crucible's code, for instance. Almost elegant, really. Every light cycle gives us one crucible. Every crucible is divided into 4 quarters. Each quarter, a leg. He tucked the flower behind his ear, as if indulging a private joke. 4 legs, 1 winner. The crowd roared again. "And just one mistake," he continued, strolling forward, voice calm beneath the noise, "can cost an entire unit its future." He paused beside a small cluster of children, crouched just enough to meet their eyes. They froze, terrified, thrilled, unsure whether to bow or run. "And what does the winner receive?" he asked pleasantly. "Ah, the only question that ever matters." He stood again, lifting his hands as if offering a gift. The Crucible's champion and up to 4 chosen family members are granted preservation. Passage to Eden East. The gray light pulsed once. "They call it the dream," he added, almost reverently. "The chosen dream." He resumed walking, fingers trailing through leaves as he went. "They run through this garden," he said, gesturing around them. "Beneath Frey's beams, where the light keeps the rifts asleep. A keeper may run beside them, yes. But the race itself?" He chuckled softly. "For bare hearts and unshielded legs. The only time flyers are permitted to run truly free." He plucked another flower. This one red. "A game built for them," he said. beautiful, brutal, honest. Then his eyes sharpened, just a fraction. But within that game, he went on, voice lowering as the crowd leaned in. Lev's another. The children nearest him felt it, the shift, the sense that they were hearing something they weren't supposed to. He smiled again, wider this time. The shadow circuit, the gray light held steady, and somewhere beneath the garden, the odds shifted. The ledger continued. A series of games within a light year of Eden. Every game is different, played differently, judged differently, and rewarded differently. Are you ready to play? A scream from the roughies near the back rail echoed throughout the route. Backs are open, he said mildly, as if announcing dinner. The roughies gathered close. Light flickered from the ledger's wrist. Glyphs crawled across the glow. Numbers, names, odds. Jet didn't care about the math. He only listened for his name to be called after he entered. Joel, on the other hand, was fixated on the numbers and the names attached to them. First leg for the Q1 is open. Fire and blood. The ledger shouted over the noise. The ledger was short and solid, a half smile ghosting his face. When he spoke, his voice pulled you closer. He tapped his cuff. The numbers rearranged themselves. Fields open, he added. Try not to embarrass yourselves. A ripple of nervous laughter. Same rules as always. The ledger continued. Back a name, back a place, or don't. He shrugged. Frey notices hesitation. Wrists flickered, colors flared, names were whispered like prayers that didn't want to be overheard. The ledger watched them place their backs, eyes dancing between the lights. Ah, he said softly. There it is. Faith. A wanderer boy piped up, half grinning. So, if I believe hard enough, will I win enough to get preserved? The ledger turned to him slowly, smile sharpening just enough to matter. Believe hard enough? He echoed. No, no, no. If belief were enough, Eden would be full of kings. A few chuckles. You back what you believe because it makes the fall hurt less. He went on pleasantly. That's the trick. He gestured at the shifting odds. You believe, you back. You doubt, you hedge. And if you're truly afraid, he leaned in a fraction. You watch. The silence tightened. And tell me, the ledger said lightly, eyes glinting, how comfortable are you watching when, in the current light cycle, an almost unreachable amount of credits is the cost for early preservation? No one answered. The ledger's smile widened. Good, he said. Fortune favors the brave. The ledger smiled. The child prepared to put a day's worth of biohost credits on a long shot to win. The crowd then went silent. A green-lit flyer entered the circuit and broke the silence. The ledger's light flared. Miles, he said, after a moment, almost fondly. Flyer, Keybird, the red stallion of the stables. Only the ones with the most credits would make a profit, backing the odds of Eden's favorite son. Not only could he fly, he had never stepped a toe out of protocol. At least, he had never gotten caught. The name hung like a half-sung hymn. The immediate backs on Miles turned the hymn into a symphony. Sometimes it didn't matter how much you won on a back. Sometimes it was just nice to win one. Top three to reach the house first take a cut, the ledger said lightly, as if he were offering leftovers. Enough credits for a quarter's rations, or, he tilted his head, a keeper who suddenly finds your footsteps very interesting. A murmur rolled through the roughies. Choose wisely, he added. Protection tastes different when you've earned it. The red lights on the brothers' wrists pulsed. Unit 13 noticed. Miles stretched at the edge of the rail, loose and unreadable. Joel watched him closely, searching for a crack. Found none. Looked back to Jet. Jet didn't notice. He was still listening for his name. One rule, the ledger continued, raising a finger, not warning, not pleading, just amused. No one backs themselves. A beat. Your pace is your wager, he said. Break it, and the house collects. The wrist lights dimmed slightly, as if the system approved. The ledger glanced over the crowd, his smile settling into place. Flyers lead, he said. You like the front. Makes sense. Drafters behind. Try not to overthink your own feet. Rangers hold the flanks. You always do. Wanderers? He paused, eyes flicking over them. You know what to do. He tapped his wrist again. The odds locked. Keep your cadence, the ledger finished pleasantly. The house loves rhythm. He tapped his screen. Another entry. Jet, unkeepered flyer. Jet held his head high, grin on his face, and turned to gesture at his non-flyer friends. In the crowd, backs flashed. Odds shifted again toward Miles and the others when they compared Jet to the rest of the flyers. Jet was smaller than most, just more heart. Joel, same frame as his older brother, just more brains. All of the green-lit flyers turned towards Jet and chuckled. All except one. Miles looked over and down on Jet and nodded with his upper lip tucked. Jet didn't care to notice. He was laughing with his friends as they waited at the starting gate, a green-lit drafter who preferred to be called Luke, a red-lit wanderer who took on the name Daly, and even BG found his way back to them. It was his crew. And Joel took notice. The nod wasn't mockery, it was respect. The kind rivals give when they know who might finish beside them, not ahead. Joel watched the laughter on Jet's face as he said his goodbyes to his friends. He noticed the calculation in Miles' eyes, and something aligned. That nod meant, I see you, and I'm not taking you lightly. That was where the pattern closed. Then the ground gave a faint shudder, a thin vibration traveling through the seams like something deep beneath had turned in its sleep. Light shifted overhead, and then across the petals, soft and uneven. The colors breathing once before settling again. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The air seemed to tighten, aware of itself, like all of the fray had pressed pause to listen. The Q1 all-hands meeting. Screens crackled to life. 5 principals appeared in white and gray robes with violet lights on their wrists. The house needed to remind them who owned the game. The one in the middle stepped forward. Contributors of Eden, they droned. Can everyone see the screen? They asked. Every contributor in Eden gave a thumbs up. They cleared their throat and then continued. The curator smiles upon you. Frey holds for you. You have performed. You have preserved. Feel Good Inc. welcomes you home from your gathering, where you can continue your pursuit for happiness. The crowd clapped and whistled loudly. One of the principals stepped forward. Of the last generation, not a thread of unraveling, he said. Applause. By the end of his time here with us, Director Diamond Hand number 44, who gave us so many light cycles of his life, has now been preserved just before Eden's age. Roars. Now, it is our pleasure to introduce to you. The Red Rocks were on the edge of their seats. The children were antsy. Your new director, Diamond Hand, number 45. Another intoned. A rumbling eruption. Finally, the video feed shifted to a white and gray office washed in light. A violet-lit man sat behind a desk in a suit that gleamed almost too clean for him, with the drafter's pin attached against the lapel. Just as old as the previous director. His smile held, though his eyes hadn't caught up to it. He smiled like a man that had been waiting for this moment his entire life. Also next to him stood the previous red-lit winner of the Crucible, a flyer named Air, number 23. He wore a red and black uniform trimmed with 4 silver laurels, each representing the 4 legs of the Crucible. He had a white light now, and he never forgot where he came from. In bloom, the new director bellowed. Forever rooted, the crowd and Air echoed as well. The director's voice still carried, calm and cold. Joel was fixated again. Jet listened when he had to. My dearest contributors, welcome to the Q1 Crucible. Last cycle was one for the banners. Because of you and the preserved, Frey is strong. Our lights burn because of us. And now your home calls you back. We look forward to a just as efficient light cycle as the many that came before it. In the curator's name, perform, preserve. Preserve, they shouted. I want to thank my good friend Air for attending today's all hands. Doesn't he look great? He asked with a smile. Everyone cheered. Jet was pumped to see Air, as many of the roughies were. Joel was more of a Mamba fan. Director Diamond continued. Number 44's time and job was up. He taught me the value of patience as his apprentice. That is why I am happy to announce that his son will take over the duties of apprentice for Eden. His ceremony will commence upon his return to the house. I am looking forward to working with you. The principals looked at one another. All drafters' eyes turned to a violet-lit child in line. The flyers were finishing shaking any last of the cobwebs out. Rangers were focused on the garden, and the wanderers were singing their songs. But Joel had snuck away to find the ledger before the start. He had tallied it all. Not numbers, omens. And they all pointed one way. I have a back, Joel said. The ledger blinked. Just once. Do you now? He glanced down at his wrist, waiting for the buzzword. And who's earned your misplaced faith? The ledger asked, taking his whistle out of his mouth. Jet, number 13, Joel said. The unkept flyer. The ledger looked up properly this time, followed Joel's gaze to the front of the line. The small one? Red light? Restless legs? He let out a short breath through his nose, almost a laugh. Him? He tilted his head. There used to be promise there. Joel paused. Records say you've backed him to win in the past. Yet, he's lately been off track for cycles. Yeah, well, I want to back to place this time, Joel said. The ledger raised a finger. Careful. Those odds are still long. Joel cut in evenly. I know. Another pause. And I want a fullback on it as well, Joel added. This wasn't belief this time. It was a move. Now, the ledger smiled. A real one. A fullback, he repeated softly, like tasting it. Well, that's new. He leaned in a fraction. Not close, just enough. You flirted with hope before, he said. Never married it. A fullback would give you it 10,000 times. With the credits you have, is the risk worth only getting halfway there? Joel's eyes moved to his red light on his wrist. The ledger caught it. So, tell me, kid, why now? Why not earn another 100 credits and save your fullback for the big prize? There's something there. I can feel it, Joel replied coolly. That this is the one that's going to hit? You've been wrong before. Why this one? The ledger chuckled. Eventually, there comes a moment in your life when you know you just have to go all in. And let's just say I finally started reading the lines right. And they're telling me this is that moment. The ledger nodded. And you know what happens, he said at last, when impatience and hope loses on a fullback. Joel nodded once. I'm not worried about it. That did it. The ledger laughed, low, pleased, and dangerous. He logged the fullback with a flick of his wrist. The glyphs locked. I like you, kid, he said. Unfortunately, that's a problem. Then, almost kindly, good luck. Joel was already moving back toward the drafter's line. The ledger raised the whistle. Cadence set, he called. Fear is priced. Frey is listening. A beat. When it calls, he finished, voice smooth as silk. Perform. Then the director raised his arms. Perform well. The ledger and his keeper took off ahead. Jet leaned forward at the front, breath steady, heart certain. He pulled his socks back up and reset his mind. Joel closed his eyes. You can place this time, he whispered to himself. Then a single word cut the sky. Charge! And the fray opened to its children.